going up with God would be going up with the skan, come to the top of the ramp where the mizbeach was, and there were a number of kohanim. The Rishon means the first kohen there. He would give over to the kohen gadol the rosh and the regel, the head and the leg of the animal. The samach aleim, he would do smicha, the zarkon, and he would throw them into the fire. Then hoishit hasheni. Then there was the next kohen that was in line with different body parts. He would give to the Rishon shtei hayadayim, the two hands of the two front legs, so to speak, of the and nice to the kohen gadol, and then the Rishon would give to the kohen gadol, the samach aleim, who would do smicha, the zarkon, and he would throw it into the fire. So again, so the first kohen would give him the head and the arm and the leg. Kohen gadol would throw it in the fire. Then the second kohen would give the arms to the first kohen. The first kohen would give it to the kohen gadol, and he would throw it into the fire. Then what would happen? Nishvat hashemi v'holach loy. And then the second fellow, the second kohen, once he gave it to the first kohen, the second kohen would leave. Then the third kohen would come, so on and so forth. Like the third kohen would come with different body parts, give it to the first kohen, give it to the kohen gadol, throw it into the fire. Let's say there were more, fourth kohen would give it to the first kohen. He did smicha, and he didn't need to the mefarsh, they didn't really need smicha, he did it part of the service. Right, so the mefarsh would explain, let's see if there's any one of the notes on the bottom of it says, hold on. See if you can find it. It says that it wasn't really necessary to do smicha. Here. He says really it's the owner that did smicha, he leaned on it. Alright? Oh. Now the Gemarah Meseches teaches that the lini performed here by the kohen gadol on the limbs of the tongue does not represent the fulfilling of from a Torah that they did smicha. Why? First, the Tamid is a communal offering. It's a carbon sibor, right? We don't know that the Tamid is like when we daven Shachar, it's Mincha Meyer, it's communal, it's sibor. It happened no matter what. It wasn't a private individual's carbon. And there's no requirement of smicha on something from the sibor. Second, the smicha must be performed when the animal is still alive. And over here it's dead. Right? It's dead already. It's cut off. However, although there's no requirement of smicha in this case, the kohen gadol nevertheless performed an act of leaning on the limbs to show that it's more significant than the regular, to differentiate his service from that of a regular kohen. It was chashivas. And the mefarsh even explained that this whole ceremony was chashivas. He was walking up the kevish. He could have got there himself. But the sagan was on the right side, and he helped him up. Make it look chashiv. Everybody comes with their entourage. I went to a sifa on Wednesday. Rabbi Salman called me up on last Friday. He says there's a sifa in Newark, New Jersey, in the Ramada, in the Newark International Airport, in the Ramada Inn over there, a real nice hotel. They rented out the ballroom, and they're filling it up. Hundreds and hundreds of rabbis and rosh yeshivas and rebbes. They're asked to come for just a gathering to understand that the whole concept of technology today is dangerous. Not that they have that many solutions, but at least to make an awareness. It is an issue. We all know it's an issue. And how to educate people how to use it, and how to maybe curtail some of the use, make some takanas, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, they're planning on doing something Chanukah, something big, like on a very, very large scale, renting out some coliseum or something, just bringing in thousands of people, alabatim and leaders and even bachrim, students, to address this issue, to make an awareness. I think it's a worthy cause. If they could get it right, it's a good thing. If they could get it right. Anyway, so Rabbi Siyum called me on Friday, and he was very, very emotional about it. And I didn't question him, but I questioned the fellow that originally asked me if I would come. I said, Wednesday, Erev Rosh Hashanah. It's like a few days, a week before Rosh Hashanah. Mama's a week before Rosh Hashanah. So it's not exactly the most opportune time for rabbis to get out of their kilos and to schlep to Newark, New Jersey. And Rabbi Siyum said, no. He said, that's what we have to do. We have to have Mesiras Nefesh. He said, Mesiras Nefesh, that's what it is. We need a schus. Klal Yisrael is being threatened from all different sorts of problems, from inside, from outside, from enemies on the in, enemies on. We have to show God that we really mean business, that we're not going to allow the internet, we're not going to allow all the gadgets and gizmos overtake our lives. It's an important thing. It's not to be belittled. Many people say, what do you mean we can't live without internet? You're right. Internet is part of society today, and it's a worthy thing. I want to tell you a little story. I was in the doctor's office about a year ago for my knee, and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and the guy comes in from the other side of town with an iPad. sits down next to me and goes, Rabbi, I don't know who this fellow is. Rabbi, I got to show you something. Takes out his iPad and he's flicking it. He's got Daf Yomi and you got Shalos Tshuva Svarm and you have English Svarm and you have Hebrew Svarm. He says, look at what you can do with this iPad. There's so many special things. I mean, I can learn Daf Yomi if I would want. He's going on and on. 15 minutes, he made me listen, he chewed my ear off about how wonderful this technology, the iPad is, right? As soon as he finished, he flicked it into the New York Times. Immediately. I didn't say anything about Shkaya. It could. It shoulda, woulda, coulda. But the bottom line is that, you see, even you're sitting there with the New York Times now, not doing that. Maybe he does. I'm not saying he doesn't. But there's definitely an issue. Anyway, so I come to this Asifa, and if you really want to be humble, that was the place to be. Because I'm like a junior guy over there. I got, let's face it. I can tell you exactly how old I am, but you all know about how old I am. I just started being able to get a little beer if I needed, right? So, and who's walking into this Asifa? A lot of senior rabbis, white beards, payers, not payers, lickfish, yeshivish, everything you can imagine. And a lot of them have entourage, come with the Sigan. They don't just come in themselves. They'll come with the followers. Anyway, there's a fellow here at Tzemach Glen who's a big photographer. So they called me up. They asked me, who would you recommend to take pictures of this great Asifa? I mean, who's going to be there? So I said, what do you mean? Tzemach Glen, of course. I know Tzemach. So this was the greatest thing for humility. I'm sitting in the crowd, and every guy around me had a picture taken of him, except me. It was great. Or snap pictures. They come over to you. They take a picture of the guy next to you. Next to you. After let me give the guy next to you a hug. Hey, hi. It was amazing. These guys
they talk about technology and they use
technology. I got all the emails from them. Anyway, it was a very interesting Asifa. But
the smallest beard.
The smallest beard. Yeah, not too many white hairs. Anyway, but it was interesting that a lot of these people walked. They didn't need entourage. Some of them walked in with one fellow on the right. Some of them walked in with a guy on the right and the left. Some of them came with a guy on the right and the left and a shtekin, a zilbin shtekin. Someone came with everybody came with an umbrella. I didn't think it was raining, but they came with an umbrella. It's also part of the shivas. So over here also we have the pamalia, as they say. The pamalia, the kohen, this is the makar. The kohen, it was not derech kavoy, that the kohen would make that trek up the kevesh alone. He would go halfway, and then someone would escort him to the top. They come to the top, the first kohen hands him the head and the arm, or the head and the leg. Throws it into the fire. The second kohen gives it to the first kohen, who gives it to the kohen gadol. The front arms throws it to but the second kohen left. The first kohen didn't do his thing and leave. The first kohen always stayed together with the kohen gadol. The second kohen, when he finished what he did, he left. The third kohen, he gave over his parts to the first, then left. Let's say there was a fourth or a fifth, whatever it was, they would hand it to the first kohen, would hand it to the kohen gadol, who threw it in the fire after he did smicha. And again, it's derech kavod that there was one person that was in charge. Not that there was a rotation and just a revolving kohen. That's not derech eretz.
Who designated not one kind?
Whoever it was, I don't know how they exactly.
Lottery, there's lots.
I don't know if no, because the lottery was within each family had 2 weeks. Maybe the Gemarah talks about lottery, so I guess they had lottery. Who did it? So whoever got the first slot ended up being the first slot, and he stayed there till the very end when everything was done.
Rabbi?
Again, everything was done in derech kavod. Yes.
Women brush their hair something. You could do the same thing with your beard.
Yes, we had that question. Remember?
Look at other people.
We had that question, and when I didn't really know what frosting means. So I asked what flavor would you like to frost her hair in. Yes, that would be an interesting thing.
Or use a little talcum powder.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Ubizman shu roitze hu soimech, and if the kohen would want, he did the smicha v'acheir zark, and if someone else really could throw it in. Someone else could. Baloi lahakav es mizbeach. So I don't know. There's a picture in the back of the art scrolls over here. Exactly the mizbeach, its dimensions, and the kohen would come to the top, and what would he do? The Gemarah says when he would come to circle mizbeach, where would he start? Mikeren droimus mizrachas. And then he would go mizrachas tzvainis marabis droimus. That's where he would circle mizbeach. And what would he do after that? Nasnu lo yayin l'naseh. He would have wine to be menaseh. Nisucha yayin. There was two nisuchim. There was nisucha mayim and nisucha yayin. Nisucha Chamayim was on Shtuch Be'Shavas, right? And Sukkot. And Chayayin was by the Karbonis. There was Sheetin. Very interesting. I was thinking, when I was learning this mission, I was thinking, that would be incredible. That would be mamish incredible to do some archaeology. It's not possible because no one ever dig around that area. But by the Mizbeach, there were holes. Mamish was Sheish Me'Bereshis. The David Melech discovered there were these holes from the Mizbeach, when they poured the libation of these Chayayin, would go trickle down into these great holes that went to the Tahaim, Mamish to the Tahaim of the earth. So can you imagine over 800 and 410 and 420, 830 years, I'm not 100% sure of every single year, because there were different kufas in the Beis HaMikdash if it was possible to Nisa Chayayin, but most of them was. Imagine 830 years worth of Nisa Chayayin. You know how much yayin is bubbling down there? If you think about it, it's amazing. There must be hundreds of thousands of gallons of wine somewhere in the Tahaim of the earth. And I mean, I don't think that yayin is good. That kind of wine, after all these years, I still don't think it would disintegrate. If it's stone,
it's very hot there.
Okay, well, so we have good yayin. Some good boiled, hot boiled yayin. But again, this was part of the process, part of the Kabbalah.
Until now, who's very specific. The first Kohen gives to the second gives to the first gives it to the Kohen Gadol. Now all of a sudden,
If the Kohen
there's no law in the Masayah. Doesn't know who gave it to him. Doesn't say.
Doesn't say who. Well, I would imagine it was probably the first Kohen. It's probably the first Kohen again. It's a good question. It's a good question. But it must be the first Kohen. Someone must have given it to the first Kohen, and then he gave it to the Kohen Gadol. Not here? Okay. Let's see what happens. So Nasul Yael Nasich Haskan Oymen Ala Keren. The Sgan would sit by the Keren. There was these corners of the Mizbeach. There was things coming out. There were outcrops coming from the Mizbeach, and he would stand there. Basudrim Biyadai would have flags. See, from the Mizbeach to where the Leviim were to sing, there was a distance. So when the Kohen would start pouring the wine, the Levim would have to start singing Shira. How would they know that it's the opportune time? So there would be flags, like the Gemarah says, that there were in the Padisa and Surah, their shuls were so big that people didn't know what to say, Amen Yesh Mirabah, so they had these flags. Really, signal flags. Signal flags. So that's what the Gemarah Sugas over there. Can you say Amen Yesh Mirabah without saying, without hearing it? The Gemarah talks about it. The Gemarah says, Padisa and Surah, it was so big the Beis HaKnesses, they had to pull up the flags. The Gemarah says, because everybody's doing it at the same time. You're supposed to hear the Amen. The Kaddish in order to answer. But if everybody's doing it together, you can answer together with them. And that's what I remember my father's shul in Miami, outside the shul, they had a green flag and a red flag for the Eruv. It was a Zukta flag. You know, a big stick, the flag on the top. If it was kosher, it was green. If it was not kosher, it was red.
In Egypt also, in the big shul.
In the big shul in Egypt. In the bells of Beis Meseches in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah,
it's amazing. They have this big klopper
the Shabbat
with a big leather. You remember that? There's a big leather box, and a big, I don't know what it is, either a strap or some kind of baton. And the same thing, you know, they bang on it when stop saying to stop people from when it was not really quiet. That's what you should get over there if you want to. Other talks turn down. Bang, gong.
Take a gun and go back.
All right, so that's what would happen. They would have the Sudrin, and the Sudrin would signal them to start singing Shira. Shnei Kohanim oimdin al Shulchan HaChalavim. The Kohanim would be standing by the Shulchan HaChalavim with a chalev and a fatzor. Shtei Chatzoyts b'yadam. They would have two trumpets. Tiku bariu v'tiku. They would blow this trumpets. Bo v'amdal eitzel ben arza. They would stand next to this question what this means, but simply was a fellow by the name of Arza. Echad b'yamino, echad b'smoilai. Sachal anaseh v'heinif asgam b'sudar. What does that mean? So Ben Arza, let's just read some of these notes about Ben Arza. Here. He brings down over here, the Rush says that Ben Arza was a fellow that was appointed over the song, which implies that he was in charge of the Levim singers. He was like the conductor. That was Ben Arza. Ben Arza would stand there, and the Sudrim would move, and everybody would start singing, and Ben Arza would... Ben Arza, he must have been a Levi. Maybe he wasn't anything. Could be he just was a talented guy. He doesn't say. Let's see what he says. He says, however, the Mishnah and Shkalim, which is the number of administrators were appointed over 6,000 in the Beis Mikdash, he says Ben Arza was appointed over the cymbal. He was the guy that banged the tziltzal over the orchestra of musical instruments which accompanied the Levium. and lists a different person as being appointed over the song. So we have Machlokes in the Rishonim. Was Ben Arza the fellow that was the orchestra, the conductor, or was he in charge of the cymbal and someone else was the conductor? But no, he was there to say start. So you have the Kohen pouring, the other Kohanim with the Siddurim, the flag, they were on the corner. They want these horns, these things that come out of the corners of his back. They would lift up the Siddur, Ben Arza would go with the cymbal, boom, and all of a sudden they would start blowing trumpets, and the Levim would start singing a beautiful melody. Maybe he did both. It doesn't feel like that. You can't do those symbols, right? That's the point. But anyway, but there's a machlokes. Some Rishonim say he was the conductor, some say he had the cymbals. Okay. What happened next? So they blew tiku, veriu, v'tiku. They blew a tekiah and a hariu, different kinds of sounds. And then they came and they stood next to Ben Arza. Echem yamin v'chasvayla, one to his right, one to his left. Shachal anasach, when the Kohen Gadol bent down, shachal, like ishtachavoya, v'anach v'karkum v'shtachavim. Shachal anasach, when he bowed down to pour the wine, the Hainif Asgam Storm, the Sagan of the Kohen immediately would wave the flag. The Hikkish Ben Arza B'Slotza, Ben Arza claimed the symbols. The Dibru,
800 years.
Maybe it was a title. Title, Ben Arza.
It was named after him.
A generic name, like I want to say it, but like Paro was a generic name. More many.
The thing what they call like this.
That's Slatzal.
What do you call it in
That's Slatzal. It's simple.
Yeah, simple.
And the Dibra Levim Bashir, the Levium would be Dibru Bashir, Todagaba. The Dibra Levim Bashir, they would sing Shira. I don't remember offhand. I remember I had a shtickle that I wrote many years ago. I don't remember, but I'm just going to throw out the question. When I was learning the Mishnayos, what is the pshat v'dibra levim b'shir? Dibra levim b'shir. Huh? They were briskers. They didn't have the Levim taco. The Brisker dynasty, the name is Soloveitchik. Soloveitchik comes from Levi. Solove. I had a teacher when I went to Riverdale. I had an English teacher named Mr. Solove, who was a Soloveitchik. His name was Solove. But it comes from Levi. Solove. Levi. Huh?
Right, I heard it too.
They're singers. They're very good. They sing. So they're singers.
I heard it was a song.
So the question I had was, why does it say V'dibru alavim b'shir? It's V'sharu alavim b'shir. So Isaac said they were briskers. The briskers don't sing at all. But the briskers, they're Levim, so they, like we have, like we always say, we have to repeat this. Aaron and I have our favorite Rechavot in Eretz Yisrael. Our favorite streets in Eretz Yisrael are Rechav HaMishay Arim and Rechav HaMishay Ririm. Because by the Levim, they were Mishay Arim and Mishay Ririm. They were the gatekeepers and they were the singers. What does that mean? So the Swarm say, HaMishay Er, Sheshay Er Chayv Nisa, VaHashay Er, Sheshay Er Chayv Nisa. The gatekeeper would sing, Chayv Nisa. That I can understand. If the guy that's a gatekeeper gets up in the Amid and starts to sing, you kill him. But the gatekeeper, the singer that's opened the gate, what's the big deal? Let the poor guy open the gate. He can do it, let him do it. So the Swarm explained, everybody has a tachlis in life. The Mishayrim were singers, that was their tachlis. HaMishay Er, the gatekeepers, that was their tachlis. Don't mix. Don't jump back and forth.
Who can sing?
Yeah, they would probably test them out. But it's a very important lesson in life. Everybody's trying to be someone else. Just because a person doesn't know how to learn on that kind of level, you don't have to. Be Isaac in Tzedakah, be Isaac in Askanas, be Isaac in something else, in Tefillah. Some people know how to daven very well. Some people have a charm in them. They're able to make people feel good. Whatever it is, everybody has a specific task in life. Like we said, very appropriate with singing and orchestras. There was a fellow, there was a conductor, and they had to practice something for a show. They had 150 pieces in a Philharmonic orchestra, and it was amazing. It was like, wow, breathtaking. Anybody that was there was like mamish awestruck. And on my way out, the fellow that was taping it says to the conductor, wow, that was really nice. He goes, it didn't sound good. He goes, what do you mean it didn't sound good? It was gorgeous. He goes, there was one violinist that wasn't here today. He says, what? How do you know? 150 pieces. So he verified it. He called up and he verified it. There was one violinist. Now, it's not like there was one violinist. There must have been 30 violins in this orchestra. So he went back and said, how do you know? How do you know? He said, because I have an ear for music and everything is just that. Perfect. It has to work. I can pick up if one guy's missing. The Rebbeinu Shalom has a beautiful world. It's a Philharmonic orchestra. Every one of us is a player. Some of us do this, some of us do that. We're all in this together. If one of us shirks our responsibilities, we're not happy with the way. I'd rather be that. The Punisher doesn't want you to be that. He needs you to be the cello, do the cello. He needs you to do the, whatever it is. Very, very important. Very important.
I play the simple. Once in a lifetime, I go.
There you go.
Oh, that's it.
It's a great story with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Unbelievable mindset. There was a boy, a bacher, a teenager that came to the Rebbe, and he asks him, he wasn't doing that well, this kid. He was having a rough time. Comes to the Rebbe says to him, tell me, you like baseball? He says, yeah, I like baseball. He says, did your father take you any games recently? He says, yeah, he took me to a game recently. Whatever it was, the Yankees against the Mets, let's say. He says, no? Was it a good game? Nah, wasn't such a good game. We left after the 7th inning. On a stretch, we got up and packed out. Why? Oh, they were being shut out, the Mets. It was terrible. Terrible. Good thing Tali Rose was not here. The Mets were being shut out, so we left after the 7th inning. It wasn't worth anything, so we packed out. So the Rebbe says, players, the Mets, did they leave? You know, they were getting shut out. Did they leave with you? Did you notice any of the players in the parking lot with you? He says, well, Rebbe, players? Can't leave, they're a player. So the Rebbe, you don't understand. Every one of us is a player in life. And no matter what, you don't give up. Either you're a player or you're a spectator. What do you want to be? If you want to be a player, you don't give up no matter what. If you want to be a spectator, you say, fine. You leave after the 5th inning, 6th inning. You don't even have to come. Who cares? Someone else will buy the ticket. But every one of us is not just a spectator. We're a player. We all have on our jerseys our name and our number. And just because I'm not numero uno, I'm not number 1. I might not be number 2. I might be number 10. I don't know how the numbers, how they go up, but who cares? Every one of us, our numbers are called. Throughout life, our numbers are constantly being called to get in there. Some people are first-string quarterbacks, some are second-string quarterbacks. But everybody's necessary. So everybody's necessary.